call me artistically insensitive, or just call me insensitive, period. Call me
Ishmael?
Call me, if Ishmael means asshole, call me that. You know, call me having lack of culture, whatever.
Stupid?
Some people
You're
would.
just a Moby Dick is what you are.
Some people would say that, but I tell you what, if you have depression and you want to make a film about it, don't call me to look at it. That's your therapy, because I don't need to sit through an hour and a half of you just having people stare, look at things, walk around like they're on heroin, all because you can't get your mind together. You fucking up my mind by doing that. I don't want to deal with it. And people who think that I'm
What are you talking about? Yeah. First off, our audience is listening like, what is this?
What does this have to do with
you doing
Herman
a
Melville?
PSA for how you feel about depression?
I think if people can read and see the title of this review, they know exactly where the hell they are, and they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, can I ask you this? Are you generally a fan of Lars von Trier films, or do you feel this way about most of his movies?
I love Dogma 95. I'm only seeing
Dogma 95 is not a movie. It's
but no. I know it's not a movie,
okay.
asshole. I know it's like.
Well, yeah, but how can you love it?
Yeah, need to make practically just knows Dogma 95 is not a movie.
Yeah, but it's not. You can't say I love Dogma 95. It doesn't even make sense.
Dogma 95 is a movement of which I've seen about 2 of those movies, and I love one. Leon and I were just talking about it. Where were you for that conversation when we were talking about that? Like,
you're a big fan of Dance in the Dark.
I love Dance in the Dark, and that's technically not a Dogma 95 movie either if you go by the rules. And people don't know what Dogma 95. It's like bare bones filmmaking. You don't use any artificial lighting. You don't really have a script. You have an idea, and you let the actors go ahead and improvise that story out for you. And wherever it goes, it goes. Now, I love the celebration, which was very close to those rules right there. And Lars von Trier, I've seen some movies outside of that movement. And the more I see him make these films, the more I'm like, you know what? He has a certain theme that, to me, the more he puts it in his movies, the more ungenuine it seems, because that theme of depression, angst, anger, just overall cruelty of one person to another, I'm just not buying that anymore. And especially when it's put in a film where there is nothing going on but that, and also nothing going on at all.
No, one thing I would want to stop you on, like where you opened up talking about how you feel about, seeing things about people being depressed and sitting around for a while. And you said people will see the title Melancholia, but someone might think, okay, melancholia as a state of being, like melancholy, and you're talking about depression, they would get the wrong impression, because melancholia is, what is it, a planet or an asteroid or something?
I'll go, since we're going that direction, I'll tell you what the movie is about. And I'm really not trying to come down on a movie because I don't understand the artistry of it. I think it's a beautiful film visually, but we'll get into the story in a little bit. So the story centers on 2 sisters during 2 different events. Kirsten Dunst is Justine. Kirsten. What did I say? Kristen. I'm thinking about Kristen Stewart from Twilight. We just got to Kirsten Dunst.
Nobody's going to get this right all night.
You notice how I'm being the silent killer over here. Yeah.
Kirsten Dunst is Justine. She's a beautiful bride who, by all means, should be enjoying her luxurious wedding, but she can't because of her painful depression. And there's also a bunch of shitty people who have come to her wedding. I mean, why wouldn't she be depressed when her own mother gets up and just says, hey, you two, enjoy it for this night while you can, because it ain't going to last. Her bouts of depression also put a strain on the relationship that she has with her sister Claire, who's played by Charlotte Gainsbourg. And Claire's anxiety is further heightened by this planet called Melancholia that threatens to collide with the Earth, causing the end of the world. And I understand Melancholia is supposed to be some huge metaphor. If you ask me, a very transparent metaphor for Lars von Trier's depression. He says, I don't want to follow any rules of physics for this planet coming by, so don't even try to look at this and say it wouldn't happen this way. It's supposed to represent his sadness. In fact, this movie is supposed to be it's an idea that stems from his own bout of depression, from going to see a therapist, bringing this idea forth, because he says, depressed people don't really get excited or anxious about bad things because they already feel bad.
Sure.
So Kirsten Dunst in this movie while her sister's like, oh shit, this planet is about to hit. She's like, well, yeah, and what would it matter? Because we're all insignificant anyway.
Yeah, why start running around and being a bitch.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny that you mentioned all the things that apparently Lars von Trier is claiming to have. You know, this have some kind of meaning about his life, because I saw a video interview that was presented when I saw this film, where he did a video interview where the guy interviewing, he's like, I just saw this movie and I see you put a lot of yourself in this, and Lars von Trier was like, no, I didn't. All this movie came about because there was a certain actress I wanted to work with, and as soon as she was available, I told myself, now I got to write a movie around it. And that was it. And the interviewer kept going, well, I know there's something in here. And the guy kept on going, no, not at all. Sorry. Sorry. There's no deeper meaning, at least dealing with me, revolving around this movie.
Lars von Trier is a famous prankster as well, though, with just likes to fuck with the press. In fact, he's not doing any more press interviews anymore. And after that whole Nazi thing, you can't really blame him. But apparently that's like his last press interview was that one. So I don't know how much to take seriously what he said in there, because it was pretty outrageous, some of his things he was saying. But regardless, von Trier's whole career has been about that people are really fucked up, and that really, you can't trust anybody, and everybody, the nicest, sweetest, most wonderful people that are there only exist to get taken advantage of and destroyed by everyone else around them. Like all his films go out that way. One of the best things, the reasons I like Dogville so much, is because it's following that path, but then there's a point where the female character goes, you know what? Fuck this, and machine guns everyone to death. And you're like, yeah, finally.
Yes.
Some comeuppance.
She turns into the very thing that she hates.
No, I know. And you see that and you're like, oh, and then you hate yourself. But at the same time, it's nice to get a little bit of comeuppance there. After many films, Dancer in the Dark, you're like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah.
Darkest musical ever. But this is like in some ways it feels like his most personal one, because it feels like it's about that sense of depression where you just feel, what's the point of anything? I might as well just lay down to die, the inevitability of it all. And the two sides of the film are definitely reflective of each other, where the first half of the film, which is about Kirsten Dunst at this wedding, where she's just, her personality won't let her have a good time. And she is not one of those casually manic depressive people. She's one of those people who is incapable of doing anything but hurt other people because of her own psychosis. Yeah. And the second half is a science fiction film where it's those same characters, except a little bit later, and it looks like that planet really is going to crash into Earth and all life will be extinguished. Yeah. And so it's pretty much just waiting until it happens.
Yeah, because I have to agree with you, Corey. What you were saying, I was going along with you at the beginning, because you were like, you know what? I don't have time to sit in a theater to watch somebody being depressed for an hour and 30 minutes. But if you want to talk about the world ending and showing me some cool shit dealing with that, I'm all for it, which that's kind of how this movie was for me. Even though the beginning, the introduction of it is fucking gorgeous to look at. It is one of those introductions to where there's just music playing and you see shit exploding and it looks fucking incredible. It's going to look great on your fucking new LCD TV. But as soon as part one begins, where you go along with the ride with Kristen Dunst being a bitch, you could give two shits, and boy, does it fucking drag. It's probably the most excruciating time I had sitting in the theater watching that part one, where I was like, I could easily walk and get the fuck out of here. And I love fucking Antichrist. So my hopes of this movie being remotely good, it was easily being squashed within that first hour and a half. But when the second part happened, where I was thinking, okay, I'm getting ready to get the fuck out of here, I don't know what happened, but they finally flipped the switch and you know what? This is what you've been waiting for.
Because that's
the second part of that film just fucking had me captivated throughout the whole time.
That's fascinating. The idea of these people going okay, the world is going to end. All of humanity will be wiped out. There is no one there to look back on what you or anyone else has ever achieved through the whole of history. Dust forever. You've got about a day. And what people would be like in a very personal, intimate situation of that. I was like, wow, that really is a fascinating character study. The first half is just watching a totally obnoxious bitch act like a jackass to everyone at her own wedding.
You're right.
Okay, so there's Melancholia, Breaking the Waves, Dancer in the Dark, Dogville. The thing that depresses me is Lars von Trier's films. I mean, that guy, whatever depression he has, he wants to spread it around. That guy is a misery loves company. I got to say that while I can't say I feel exactly like Corey, but I know I feel the opposite of you guys. Because to me, the first half was what I did like. And a lot of it was because it reminded me of that Dogma 95 movie, The Celebration. I thought all the acting was great, and Kirsten Dunst, I didn't look at her as a bitch. I was like, this girl is ill. I felt really bad for her. The fact that they threw this lavish thing and were trying to drag her through it. And it's like, man, if y'all really cared about her, you could look at her and see that she's either tired or that she just does not have she doesn't have the capacity to feel this happiness at all this. And she's just, you already know what her history is. You know she's going to do something self-destructive. Or, at some point, just come together and say, look, we did enough. Let's cut it off. And they don't. They just keep dragging it through it. And watching it, I love the way it looked. I love the way it was shot. It left me feeling tense the whole time and just knowing something was going to go down. And there's little performances here and there. I was cracking up at Kiefer Sutherland, who was just like, you know how much I'm paying for this shit? And I was like, yeah, I can feel that.
You can identify with that.
I can identify with that, but just really, I didn't look at her as a bitch. I felt really bad for her that whole time. It's like, this is just not going to end well, and nobody will stop and look at and take a realistic assessment of what's going on.
The one thing I will say about her in particular in this film, because people are going to talk about this, and this has more to do, I mean, she's a beautiful woman, no question about it in my mind, but there's a shot in here that's all Lars von Trier and his cinematographer doing with those moments when you go, Jesus Christ, where she's sunbathing in the nude in the moonlight.
Yeah.
And it's an astonishing picture. I mean, you're just like, wow, I would love to have that as my desktop.
Kristen Dunst has a great set of
Such a
tits,
gorgeous
all right?
shot. And she's
me
beautiful.
wishing I was Spider-Man. But then when we get to the second half with the world ending, which, spoiler, they reveal it in the opening credits, that's where you see people just sitting around being depressed. Yeah, she's in full depression mode, but everybody else, they're either anxious or they're depressed, and I thought that shit just dragged. And when you finally get to the big money shot, I was like, yeah, I saw it in the opening credits. You know what? It's show like they're such a remote part of the world, which I was like, wait, why is very American Kirsten Dunst in this family of nothing but British people? But anyway,
Found in a basket.
yeah, clearly. But all of them just moping and whining, nobody else around, them not getting to civilization. I was like, you know what? I look forward to this world ending because this is Dullsville. I was like, look, I sat through the first hour and a half and was like, okay, it didn't really go much of anywhere, but I enjoyed what was there. But that last part, I thought just dragged out to nothing.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's funny how I so much agree with you on that, because when I was looking at it, I was like, what I would like about this more, I don't, because I don't buy that